welcome to Symptoms and Side Eyes, where two doctors, one dermatologist, one lifestyle and obesity medicine specialist, join forces to debunk trendy medical myths, educate on all things skin, hair, nail, and wellness related, and provide a little humor and side eye at the same time.
Big question. Is there anyone out there who's 100% happy with their weight? Or are you like the rest of us, stressed, struggling, and scrolling through TikTok, wondering if those magic shots are going to work for you?
So maybe you've already started a GLP-1, maybe you're just curious, but here's what you're really wondering. Is my hair going to fall out if I start a GLP-1? What is Ozempic face exactly? And do I have to take this forever in order to maintain my weight loss?
Sound familiar? Well, you've made it to the right place. Welcome back to Symptoms and Side Eyes. I'm Dr. Denise Johnson, double board certified internal medicine and obesity medicine physician.
And I'm Dr. Lauren Payne, board certified dermatologist and founder of Flourish Dermatology and Aesthetics here in New Orleans, Louisiana. Today, we're answering the questions Google can't and that TikTok gets wrong quite often.
And stick around because I'm revealing my expert take on which medication is actually superior, the truth about those controversial compound medications, and why you might not even need to take a weight loss shot to lose weight in the first place.
Oh, wow. Curious to hear about that. So if you like this episode, please leave us a review. It helps others get the word out. And so we will go ahead and let Dr. Denise take over.
All right. So the very first thing that I want to say and make clear, obesity is not a dirty word, okay? It's a chronic disease just like diabetes or high blood pressure, okay? It's not a conscious decision that was made one day. It is not a lack of willpower. And weight loss is hard. And it's not just hard because it requires dedication and consistency. It's hard because chemical changes have taken place in your body, and it's actually fighting against you to keep the weight on, okay? And, there are some people that can make a consistent lifestyle change and come off of their diabetes or high blood pressure medication, but that's not going to happen for everyone, and the same with weight loss drugs, okay? No matter what some people do, they will need to take these medications for life, and that's okay. Okay, it's not a failure, it's just a simple fact. The bottom line is it's nobody's business what medications you're on, period. And shame does not belong here.
That's all very, very valid. So let's kind of dive right in and tell us, Dr. Denise, what are these GLP-1 magic shots and how exactly do they work?
All right, so let's keep it simple, okay? So we're going to group them into group 1 and group 2. Group 1 is semaglutide, all right? That's Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight loss. Same medication, just different names, okay? And then group 2, we have the tirzepatide, and that's Mounjaro for diabetes and Zepbound for weight loss. Kind of like how Motrin and Advil are the same ibuprofen.
Okay, that makes sense. So how exactly do they work?
So we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to think of GLP-1s like a traffic cop, okay? So what it is it's actually a hormone that your body secretes, and when it goes out, it acts like the traffic cop, and it tells your stomach, stop, slow down. It tells your brain, we feel full, most importantly, and it increases insulin secretion from your pancreas to better manage your food, or glucose, we call it, as it comes into your body. And therefore, you're going to feel full. You're going to feel like you already ate, and sometimes you're not even going to think about food at all.
And what's the difference between the two groups?
So Mounjaro and Zepbound have an extra hormone called GIP. And to keep it very basic and simple, GIP does the extra job of burning fat, which means energy consumption and therefore extra weight loss even when you're not eating. So that's some serious science there.
That is.
Yes, and so that's the basics of how they work, and the magic is in the fact that the medications are telling your brain to stop eating and that you feel full. And it gets to the point where the last thing that you're ever going to think about is food, and that's really magic to me. So now that we know how they work, let's talk side effects. And I'm going to get into the stuff that's going on inside your body in just a sec, but first let's have our dermatologist talk about that hair loss, because boy, that's That's what I hear all the time.
Yeah, same here. So usually when I have patients who are on GLP-1s and they come in the clinic, the most pressing issue is associated hair loss. So let me set the record straight. The GLP-1 medications themselves do not typically make your hair fall out. So that's important to note.
Good. Yes, patients are terrified about that.
Exactly. I understand no one wants to lose their hair. But what exactly is happening is that phenomenon called telogen effluvium, which I previously spoke about on our first episode. So, as I mentioned before, when your body goes through a major stressful event, and rapid weight loss is stress. Even though it's positive, you're happy to lose weight, it's an extreme stress on your body. Your hair follicles shift from a growing phase or a resting phase, and they'll shift immediately to a shedding phase. However, you don't notice the actual shedding until 2 to 3 months after the actual stressful event happened. So you'll start noticing a lot more hair coming out when you're brushing your hair, or when you're in the shower, or when you're laying down on your pillow and you notice more hair on your pillowcase. And you're like, what is going on?
So there's a delay. So you might lose weight in, say, January and then notice some hair shedding suddenly in March.
Exactly. And here's the other piece. It's important to have the proper nutrition. So when you're on these medications, of course, you're eating less. When you're eating less, you're often not getting the right nutrients, aka protein, that's needed to help your hair grow. So your hair is made of protein, specifically keratin. So your body will prioritize other things over hair growth if you're not getting enough protein in.
Okay, and so what's normal versus concerning?
Right, so normal hair loss is typically about 100 to 150 hairs a day. You are supposed to lose hairs as the ones that are in the shedding phase are being shed. However, when you have that telogen effluvium, you are losing more on the air of 250 to 400 hairs a day. So that's like several handfuls of hair. It should be overall, you'll notice the hair shedding coming over all of your hair. If you notice that you're losing it in specific patches, or if your scalp is randomly itchy or tender or flaky or burning, that is not related to GLP-1s, that is not related to telogen effluvium. That's when you need to see a board certified dermatologist ASAP.
Okay, and how can we protect our hair?
So it's important to protect if you're having some stress and it's causing the telogen. So as I mentioned before, you need to make sure you have the proper nutrition, right? Protein. You need to have those building blocks in order to make the hair grow. So you need at least 20 to 25 grams of protein per meal because you need those building blocks for your hair to grow. It's also important to take a multivitamin with iron and B vitamins. I usually recommend prenatal vitamins because they have really good B12 and folate in them as well. It's also important to be gentle to your hair, meaning your hairstyles. No extremely tight ponytails all the time. You want to minimize the amount of heat that you're using on your hair, and you want to use a silk pillowcase. You don't want your hair to break off when it's already not growing as much as it used to.
Now the good news.
The good news is usually it's temporary. Once your weight stabilizes and your nutrition improves, hair will typically start regrowing in 3 to 6 months. It's frustrating, but typically it's not permanent.
Good. So good to know. And, that's just another reason to keep that protein intake high and make special efforts with your nutrition while you're on these medications.
Absolutely. So now on to the skin component of the weight loss and GLP-1s. So this big thing that's been out there, especially when Ozempic was like the hot ticket, was the Ozempic face. So this is honestly just rapid weight loss on the face, period. So when you lose fat everywhere. You don't get to pick and choose where you lose the fat. So you also will lose it in the face. And especially over the age of 40, we already start to lose some of the volume. And so you'll actually look more aged because that facial fat is actually what was keeping your face, giving you that fullness and that youthfulness. So when you start losing that fat, you start looking a little more aged.
So it's actually not a side effect of the medication.
Correct. It happens with any quick weight loss. So again, you can't pick and choose where the weight comes off. We wish it could happen, but that's just not the case.
And can you prevent it?
So you can kind of try to slow it down by slower weight loss, right? Not that rapid, I'm losing 50 pounds in a week. You also want to make sure you stay hydrated, stay nutritious, get your protein in, keep up a good skincare regimen, your retinoids, your moisturizers, your sunscreens. There are cosmetic things like dermal filler that you can also do if needed. But don't let the fear of your face changing for a short term stop you from getting healthier overall. The goal is sustainable change.
For sure. Okay. So now that we've got that. All right. So now that we've got the hair and the skin out of the way, let's talk about the more internal side effects and the ones that you're likely to see more quickly. The good thing to note here is for 99% of these symptoms, they are completely preventable as long as you think about what you're doing, okay? The most common, of course, are the nausea, vomiting, indigestion, fatigue, stomach pain, and constipation, okay? They exist because of the way the medication works, right? It's slowing your gut. That's why things can get backed up. That's why you can have the nausea. And I also want to mention, you remember that thing about Ozempic babies? Part of that is ladies with PCOS, they're becoming more fertile because of the insulin resistance going down. And the other part is the fact that some of your medications might not absorb as well. So that's another reason, to be followed by somebody so they can help you with these side effects that you can manage.
That makes total sense. These are not benign medications, right? It's important to have somebody who knows what's going on. So what's the number one thing that you want to avoid in terms of side effects when you're on these medications?
Constipation. That is the most important one. Okay, you need to make sure your bowels are moving like it's your full-time job, all right? Veggies are super important. 2 liters of water a day, no less. And a fiber supplement should be your new best friend. All right, you gotta have bowel movements every 1 to 2 days. I had a lady come into the hospital. It was her second admission for bowel obstruction because nobody told her that. So that's a scary one.
Yeah, no one wants backed up bowels, so definitely important to keep that in mind. What about the other stuff that I've heard about in terms of pancreatitis, things like that?
Yeah, so pancreatitis thankfully isn't as bad as the headlines suggest. But if you do start to have the worst pain in your life, hits around your belly button, kind of goes in your back, you're vomiting, can't keep anything down, that's a serious side effect and you need to go in and get that checked out. The other serious side effect, I was just hearing on the radio how Ozempic has a $2 billion lawsuit against it for blindness. The important thing to know about that one is people with diabetes are at high risk for eye disease. Okay, if you have diabetes, you're supposed to get your eyes and your feet checked every single year. And with these medications, it's more important that you do that because you have that baseline. And if anything happens to your eye, pain, can't see, that's an emergency. Don't play with your eyes. They don't come back. See a doctor.
That's important. What about muscle loss?
So the muscle loss, new studies are kind of bringing it into a little bit more controversy. Maybe we're not losing as much muscle as we think we are, but the bottom line is get that protein in, right? Just like Dr. Payne said, you want to save your hair, eat protein. You don't want to lose all the fat, all the fat in your face, lift some weights. So 30 grams of protein with each meal, and slower weight loss is better, okay?
Right. So the overall theme here seems to be that we want to prepare you for the possibilities of what's to come so you have a plan to get the best outcome.
That's right. And yes, I forgot to mention, okay, so the people that qualify for this medication per the manufacturers is BMI of 30 or higher or a BMI of 27 or more with conditions like prediabetes or high blood pressure, okay? So remember, these aren't just magic shots, they're serious medications. So if they're not used properly, they can cause serious damage to your body. And there are times when people with lower BMIs qualify, but that's something best discussed with a weight care specialist like me.
Gotcha. And so what about the compounded versions of GLP-1s? I know we see a lot of commercials for these, compounded medications. So what's your take on that?
It's a controversy, but my take is, as long as they're coming from a reputable place, compound medications can be beneficial to your health, right? Money doesn't grow on trees, and nobody wants to spend all their money on medications, but for a certain group of people, it's going to be worth it, and the compound medications can help make the medications more affordable for everybody. So as long as the pharmacy is following FDA standards, you should be good to go.
Okay, so that's good to know. So in terms of um, the big question, which is, do I have to take this forever in order to keep losing weight? What do you say?
So honestly, it's a complicated answer, okay? For many people, the answer is yes, and there is no shame on that. Just like, if someone has diabetes, you're not going to shame them for being on insulin long term. Studies show that, 2/3 of people are regaining their weight after they're stopping.
So that's tough to hear.
It is, but all is not lost, right? There are certain groups of people who are able to transition off these medications. How do they do it? Lifestyle changes, right? It's those small, tiny changes that you can sustain. It's not aiming to have the medication cut completely off your appetite and you just starve yourself to death. When you really use it as a tool in the correct way, I do believe that you can come off of these medications.
Okay, so kind of what's the key takeaways as far as wrapping that part up?
I would say go in this with a sound mind, a commitment, and a plan to stay flexible. Okay, choose the medication that fits your lifestyle and your pocketbook, and don't ignore your bowels. All right, you must poop. All right, drink 2 liters of water every single day, more if you can, and move. All right, don't try to become a totally new person. Right? We're just becoming a more aligned version of our already fabulous selves, okay? Commit to making small changes before you ever pick up that pin, needle, or pill.
I like it. So, you promised us your final take on the medication that you would recommend, or the medication that people should ask for when they're talking to their docs about GLP-1s. So, what is your choice for GLP-1?
All right, so the answer is a little bit nuanced, but hands down, the GOAT is tirzepatide. Okay, that is the one you want. It has less side effects, and the science proves you lose more weight on tirzepatide. But that comes with a caveat, right? If your insurance is covering Ozempic or Wegovy for $25, please do not pay hundreds of dollars when you can get that for $25, right? If you can get a compound version of the tirzepatide and the price isn't different, get that one. So I say that, get the best medication, which is tirzepatide if you can. If not, get a GLP-1 that you can. And if compound makes it more efficient and is a reputable place, go for it. And just a little hint for other, people out there listening who don't like injections or don't want to pay this money for these medications, it's not the only option. There are plenty of weight loss medications that have been around for a very long time. And when you get with a weight care specialist that learns you and knows your habits, you can find a very cheap and effective weight loss medication by mouth.
That's cool. It's good to know. So,
Mhm.
you provided some great information today about GLP-1s, a lot of things that I didn't know about, and hopefully a lot of things that the audience learned about as well. So, we just want to kind of make sure that everybody knows, and I know Dr. Denise mentioned this at the beginning, you are not alone in your weight loss journey. Millions are navigating the same journey with the same questions, and hopefully we helped to answer a lot of those questions for you today.
Yes, this is my passion. So make sure you follow me on Dr. Denise YouTube. Download these episodes and share with all your friends so they can get all the good info too.
Absolutely.
And so
So,
for our next episode, yes, look, we're both so eager. We're doing winter skincare, so it's going to be all derm, all skin, and a little holiday weight gain and colds.
absolutely. So if you like this episode, please leave us a review, especially if it helped. Screenshot your favorite moment and tag us. My tag is at Flourish Derm or Dr. Lauren Payne platforms. Dr. Denise.
And I am at Lifestyle Care DPC.
Perfect. And also, of course, please tag us on Symptoms and Side Eyes.
Yes.
So until next time, trust your body, trust the science.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.